What is the key to being successful in every project? Is it being authentic? Do original ideas even really exist anymore? In 2004, when I was attending school for cinematography, our teacher at the time, who was a former Hollywood DP, told me something that still to this day is stuck in my head. He said in Hollywood, when it comes to new ideas, it has all been done before. At the time when he told me, it really didn't sit well with me until I grew older and I realized the man was right all along. All great ideas don't just come from thin air. All innovations, in my opinion, are either a reframing or perhaps an improvement of something that's already been done before. But as creators, how do we come up with these new innovations for our next projects? Every artist wants to grow and become a better version of themselves. It doesn't matter if you're a painter, tattoo artist, musician, photographer, filmmaker, we all want to grow and be successful in our line of work that we're passionate about. I've been passionate about capturing images for as long as I can remember. And I believe in today's world of content creation, just educating yourself by putting yourself through film school and taking online courses is not going to be enough to help you put your name on the map amongst your competitors in your industry. In the technical aspect of your art, you'll definitely need to be educated, but we live in a creative world. What does that mean? That means that we need to be creative, we need to be artists, and we need to create. We need new ideas, and most importantly, we need our work to go viral. And my friend, don't hate me when I tell you this. It doesn't matter how talented you are, it does not matter how confident you are in your personal abilities. The search for a great idea for your next project will always be your biggest struggle for the rest of your career. These questions will never leave you alone. How can I create something that a lot of people will see? A new idea, an original one. An idea that's not only going to represent my talent, but also help me stand out. This really could turn into a nightmare sometimes. Some people talk about having panic attacks about it. What's the solution? How can you come up with your next great idea? What is that first step towards writing that first idea down on a piece of paper? So what is that element that makes this nightmare into an enjoyable reality? It is called inspiration. What is the meaning of inspiration? In the dictionary, it says the process of being mentally stimulated to do or feel something, especially to do something creative. On a neurological level, let's look at where inspiration takes place in our brain. It takes place in the anterior superior temporal gyrus. I actually learned that word last week and I'm using it to make me look smarter, but this actually makes sense, so hang in there with me. It's located roughly under our right ear on the right hand side. And apparently, when we get inspired, this part gets triggered by a burst of gamma waves coming from the back of your head where our visual cortex is found. This is where all our visual inputs are processed. On a psychological level, however, when we find ourselves inspired, our body produces high levels of serotonin and dopamine. Dopamine is released when your brain is expecting a reward. When you come to associate a certain activity with pleasure, mere anticipation may be enough to raise dopamine levels. It could be a certain food, your favorite team scoring, shopping, or just about anything else that you enjoy. In my experience, feeling inspired is that tingly feeling in your stomach that makes you feel euphoric. There's a fire inside you that screams authenticity. That willingness to want to write that idea on a piece of paper. Now hear me out. I truly believe if you're technically educated in your field of art and you create something out of inspiration, I guarantee you 99% of the time you're going to create something that a lot of people are going to want to tune in and admire that work. That is the power of inspiration. But unfortunately, inspiration is not something that likes to stick around. It's like that old high school friend that you might run into from time to time. Well, let's see what can we do to get inspired. They say nature, and I say please be more specific. First of all, not all of us have the luxury to be within walking distance with nature and be inspired by it. If you do, that's great. You could just go out for a run, and in the middle of your run, you might run into a waterfall, perhaps a lake, and you might catch the sunset, and you might just get inspired and find your next idea. But for me, I probably have to drive about 6 hours to get to the mountains of Bavaria to enjoy some nature. Then I have to hike a certain amount of distance to get to a location that is inspiring enough. By that time, it's either super cold, but my fear of heights is choking me up to a point where I'm screaming, "Take me home, I'm just here for the pictures." So I don't know about you, but the only time I get inspired by nature is probably when I'm in my comfy clothes, walking by the beach with my dog, enjoying the view, enjoying the waves, watching the sunset. Then I'll probably find some inspiration. But that's just me, we're all different. But that thing that really gives me inspiration is called music. And it probably roots to my childhood. My father was really into classical music and movie scores, and he introduced me to the likes of Ennio Morricone, and it was a seed planted right then and there. So I grew up in that environment, and whenever I would close my eyes and I listened to the right music, my mind would just start painting pictures. Now I know for sure I don't have designer abilities, but I'll tell you, when I listen to the right music, that is the only time where my mind has the ability to come up with new stuff. Now let's not get carried away from the title of this video. The reason that we fall on the wrong side of that fine line from plagiarism to being inspired, it is because a great source of the inspiration that we get is from each other as artists. We grow by learning from each other, but unfortunately, sometimes we end up copying each other. Now I'm assuming you're passionate enough about your art that you stay up to date with your industry's latest trends, let that be via YouTube subscriptions, Instagram, Twitter, etc. You follow the successful influencers in your community. Somebody puts out a new work and it gets viral. You're among the first to see it. Now remember, this person is someone who does the same thing as you. They just put out some new work, and while you were sleeping, it has created some buzz on the internet. For example, I might think I'm good at what I do after being 15 years in the industry, and I wake up to a video of a 24-year-old that's taken over the internet, and it is sad to say it looks better than anything that I've ever done before. And when you see that for the first time, something weird happens. It's a bittersweet feeling, perhaps more bitter at the beginning. At first, I just start swearing in my head. Then I feel choked out, and I get all these evil thoughts in my head on how I can hack his page. And it gets worse to a point where I'm gonna throw myself out the window. I've come up with a name for every time I feel like that. I call that moment the FML moment. It's simple. That feeling is called jealousy, and it lives in all of us. I don't think I've ever met anybody who can claim that they've never been jealous. I believe you might not be jealous about anything or anybody, but if you find that person who does the same thing as you and they do a better job, you're gonna feel jealous. Don't tell me you don't. Don't tell me you're gonna go, "Oh, I feel wonderful. That is great. I feel good." Don't lie to me. You feel jealous and you want retaliation. Let me give you an example in my line of work. There is this guy who some of you might already have heard of him. His name is Sam Colder. We have all had our fair share of Sam Colder making us jealous. Now let me go through some of the things that he does that's made me want to jump off a cliff. He arguably makes the best travel videos ever. He's good looking, he's fit, can throw his girl up in the air with his feet without hurting her, does crazy backflips from cliffs. I thought I had one advantage over Sam Colder, and I thought he doesn't fly FPV. But recently, I found out that his FPV reel looks way better than mine. So I have all the reasons to hate Sam Colder. As a matter of fact, Sam Colder is responsible for many of my FML moments. When I look back at my learning curve for the past 2-3 years, this curve was elevated after every time I had an FML moment. And the reason for that is every time that I saw something and I saw someone who was doing something better than me, after channeling all those feelings of why is someone better than me into something positive and eventually inspiring from it, I grew and I improved as a content creator. So it's okay to get jealous and it's okay to hate, but only for a couple of days. Because if you put all the jealousy aside, it's guys like Sam Colder who set the bar high for the rest of us. We need to learn how to get inspired by a great artist or a project that they do. For example, I believe Sam Colder is well responsible for the birth of travel seamless transitions. Not that seamless transitions didn't exist before him, but Sam found a way to use it in a way but it was rewarding to look at. Now the Sam Colder transition trend started I think about 3 years ago, and unfortunately there's still a huge number of creators who are trying to replicate exactly what he did. And there's a few YouTube videos that show you how you can exactly replicate Sam Colder. I personally am a person who like to stay in my own lane. If there's a trend going on and everybody's using the same 5 tracks on Instagram for a video, for example, I don't try to blend in. Even though blending in sometimes might help your stuff to go viral. But automatically when I see something like that, I stay in my own lane. I don't try to fit in right away. Listen, I was blown away with Sam Kohler transitions as much as you were. But with my mentality, I stay away from replicating techniques. And instead, these transitions taught me to be more thoughtful whenever I want to cut to my next shot. So next time you see something that inspires you, it is okay to hate, but try to remember these 3 things. 1. Don't replicate. 2. Reverse engineer and find the why that artist did that specific technique. And number 3, trying to use that why in your next project. This way, you fall on the right side of that fine line. Well, my friends, if you guys found this video useful, you already know what to do. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's stay in touch until we see each other next time. Have a good one.